Welcome to World Cinema Reviews. This is your host Frank the Vamp, and I'm just so glad to continue today with our From Dusk Till Dawn franchise analysis with the second movie, From Dusk Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood Money. And this was a direct to video sequel made in 1999, um, directed by Scott Spiegel. However, even though Robert Rodriguez and Tarantino are not credited as directors or writers, they are producing, so they're putting up some money, and they actually backed up the project 100%. This movie was starring the from Terminator 2 fame, the T-1000. Himself, Robert Patrick, Bo Hopkins, among others, and right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you that this currently holds a 9% rating out of out of 100 in RottenTomatoes.com. I think it has like a total of, for every 10 reviews, they only get 2 positive ones and 8 negative. So yeah, it looks like this is gonna be one of those defend the movie things rather than analyzing the franchise. I think that there's things that work against this, and we're gonna actually address them first, and I'm gonna tell you what works. But before we start on all that, dwelling into what worked in this movie, what didn't work in this movie, I gotta tell you the plot. So this movie is not really connected with the first movie, except a couple of things that happened that I wanna talk about, but we'll talk a little bit later. But it's mostly stand on its own as a regular film. And definitely, I can tell you that right off the bat, as it's I really liked it. I actually liked it. It's obviously has some problems, and we'll talk about them. But if you wanna right off the bat, let me tell you that this was a film that I enjoyed, and I'll tell you why in a second. But before that, so here's the plot. So so our protagonist, um, excuse me, Robert Patrick, tries to, he's like a former criminal, but he learns that one of his partner in crime has escaped, and they're planning to make a get a big amount of money by going into a Mexican bank and doing a illegal withdrawal. Can I say? They're basically planning a bank heist, and so he rounds up a gang. They're going to join together uh, with this escaped fellow, felon all together, and plan this big money heist so they can be set for the rest of their lives. And but oh yeah, before I start, I always say, I'll put it on the title, but this will have spoilers, so you have been warned. Then what happens is that at some point, one of them is attacked by a vampire bat, which transforms him into a vampire, and some of them are transformed, and they try to rob a bank as vampires. So hey, kind of a cool premise, I thought, and it works in so many levels, but it doesn't in others. Let's talk about the negatives because there's so many. I mean, there's so many that have been mentioned, and there's some that are, um, how can I say, some of them are granted. I'll tell you which ones should be negative, and some of them that are not. So let's start with the one thing that affected this movie was the budget. I can't confirm the exact figure, but I think that the first From Dusk Till Dawn had a 25 million, and this had 5 millions or less. So it was something like no, it was like the first was like 19 million, and this one was like 5 million. However, if you know Robert Rodriguez, he's the awesome money manager of the world. That dude can make a movie for nothing and make it gold. If you don't believe me, watch a movie called El Mariachi, which is basically, which actually we should talk about one day. I think it was made for like something like 10 grand, and it made like over $1 million in the box office. It was something I can't confirm the exact figures, but he's that type of director that doesn't need a lot of money to make a cool movie. And El Mariachi turned into the sequels Desperado with big money sequels, and Once Upon a Time in Mexico, um, which are really cool films on its own. Now so granted, yeah, it does suffer from lack of money. The effects are still pretty cool. I don't see the effects being cheapened because usually that's the route that they go. I don't think um, it suffered because of the amount of of the star power. Perhaps we don't. I don't think it suffered because he had pretty good stars. So we're going to talk about that too. Once we get to characters, but I don't think that particularly hurt it. What it did hurt is the fact that the sets and the scale of the film doesn't feel, like sometimes it is a direct to video sequel, and I tell that most of the time doesn't feel like direct to video, but there are some times when it does. And one thing that it does is when they go into uh, the titty twister from the first one. There's a moment where a character goes in there, and it's down to scale. It's down to you know the greatness of the bar. It's gone because of budget concerns. That kind of hurts a little bit. Um, they shot this film in South Africa. I had to look it up twice, but I believe that's correct. In South Africa, because they couldn't even go to Mexico. I think that had to be a money thing. There's no citations on that, but it's just you could see that they were trying to cut corners. But fortunately, so if you're somebody who's saying, oh, because it's direct to video it sucks, you're wrong. Uh, don't think like that. There's some great movies that are direct to video that don't suck. If you wanna know of a really great one, the movie Clown by Eli Roth. Oh man, that movie is fantastic. I did a review on it. I'll put a link down below so you can check it out if you haven't done so by now. But that movie rocks, man, and that's direct to video. I think this movie could have made money on the box office if they would have ventured that way. But yeah, so yeah, it does hurt. I don't think it hurts it enough though. I think it still retains a good movie quality, even though it does suffer from lack of budget. Um, the other thing that a lot of people, are saying, it's just the quality of the story and the recycling. I absolutely disagree. I think this has no impact. I think the story was really creative. Um, yeah, there's some elements about the first one that some people may argue is being reused, but if you look at it, even maybe the beginning of the film, trying to be, hey, this is a bank heist and this is a vampire heist. It is and it's not. I understand that some people say, oh, it's just a recycled plot, and no, um, I don't think so. I disagree, and I can tell you that if you there was some character development, um, there was some kind of wish that they would have gone sometimes in a little bit more detail on that character, but it's probably money wise why they had to cut it. They had to do things just to make it right. But I disagree. I just the only thing I can tell you that is like is the feel of the film is really cool, and but I'm gonna tell you why in a second. I want to get all the negatives out. There is a continuity error in this film because if this happened after the I don't know if this is an oversight or was just a or somebody messed up, but correct me if I'm wrong. We have the character of Machete. Yes, it's is pretty much the only one coming back from movie number one, which is Danny Trejo. So Danny Trejo plays again Razor Eddie. So if he's still alive, because he was impaled on part one, right? He was killed. So if Trejo was killed on part one, he can appear on part two. So this could have been a prequel, right? Yeah, but there's a problem because one of the deputies mentions the Gecko brothers, which is Quentin Tarantino and his name George Clooney. Yeah, his name almost escaped me just now. So if he says that those characters kill, the sheriff character played in part one, um, which was the character of Earl McGraw, played by I think it was Mr. Parks. Yeah. So that would say that that already happened, and there's no way that this, if that happened already, if it's of the deputy's memory that that happened, that means that from Dust to the One has already happened and the guy will be dead. So that's a continuity error. Yeah, which is not so nice to see. But those happen. I mean, I'm nitpicking, but to me, those are just the negatives. Really, it's just so to sum it all up. The budget could have been better. I think it could have been released as with a little bit more money. Could have been tuned up, more character development, and definitely, the continuity error did hurt. I don't know if it was done because of rush thing or they didn't do it right how we're supposed to. Now let's talk about why this movie kicks ass. Why this movie is good. Now that we got all that junk out of the way, once again, the movie starts in an awesome way. Now, the movie starts with cameos by Bruce Campbell, Evil Dead himself, and Tiffany Thiessen, from Saved by the Bell, in a scene where they attack by vampire bats and kill, supposedly, right? But then later on, we learn that that was just a movie on TV, which is a pretty cool way to start. But for the few minutes that this takes place, priceless. And this is, and Bruce Campbell and low budget, there is a marriage made in heaven or a vampire hell, like this one. So ever since the movie began, the movie gets you in the right mood. See, this is a different thing, right? This is a direct to video movie. So I think that the director and also the producers got together and gave it a good feel. It's a different thing. It's almost like this is a movie you're gonna relax with, you're gonna laugh with, and you're not gonna take it seriously as to going to the movie theater and getting dressed up and stuff. You can watch this on your underwear by drinking a beer and eating nachos. And this is the perfect, drink a beer, eat nachos, turn off your brain type of movie. So let's talk about characters, which is what we really want to talk about. Robert Patrick, really, really underrated actor. Love him as a T1000. In here, that's amazing. As this, fast talking. kind of like you're run of the mill, um, bank robber. He's not a murderer. He's not a that's not his thing. He really just wants the money. He's got a girl there. He wants to make right. He wants to do things right. He wants to get this money and then forget about it, right? So I think that he does really well. I like the fact that he gets the band of robbers, back together to make the heist. I really like Bo Hopkins as the sheriff. Really cool, wisecracking. I love the Earl McGraw character done in the first one better, but since he was killed off, so that continuity was right. Uh, you know, Dwayne Whitaker, awesome as Luther, which is the first guy that runs over the vampire bat. Then his car, then he shoots it, then goes to drives by walks to the titty twister, which is in the middle of nowhere, right? He's down on his, thanks to his bad luck, when he's going to the rendezvous with the other guys, first gets attacked by a vampire, which is played by, of course, um, Danny Trejo. Perfect, perfect, reprisal of his role. Gotta take him. Um, my favorite characters here, uh, there's two guys. I really like Muse Watson as CW. Total total redneck down on his log. Um, he's just being a he's being a rodeo clown, you know, getting gored by the bulls down on his log, and then he really takes the job. I think one of my favorite funny movies. Yeah, that's the other thing. This movie works as a dark comedy as well. Actually, probably as good as it retains that from the first movie. I would say, maybe even as good as I really like it when he. There's a scene when they're all watching. They're waiting for Luther to come over from the rendezvous at the hotel, the Coyote Hotel, and he says that he likes porn. Say, I like my porn with the story, cause if he says something like, cause if you like, cause if cause if there's a good story, you just care more about the talking, and it's just unbelievable. He's just you just right out loud. He plays it nice. I really like Raymond Cruz as Jesus. He's this Latino badass dude who's actually getting Jews. He's juicing his dog. He's putting steroids into his dog so he can do better, dog fights. A completely immoral, irreverent, badass dude with a big ass tattoo saying enemy in Spanish on his back. And he's just crazy. And when he becomes a vampire, he even gets more crazy. Um, that's that's basically the gist of it is that even though the characters are not as developed as the first movie, it still retains some. It's like you care about the characters, you understand their motivation, you know where they're going. I love the ride. I love the Lincoln with the horns in the front, riding supposedly through Mexico, which turned out to be South Africa. But anyhow, the movie really takes off where you know they start. The dark humor extends at the fact that this is almost a homage to the movie Innocent Blood, which I'll also be done a review, which with gangsters that inadvertently turned by this girl into vampires. Then they decide to basically run them off with vampirism, using their vampiric powers. And that's exactly what these vampires try to do. They try to make the heist and just full on, just with that absolutely kick-ass, most awesome part of the movie where the vampires, they say fuck it, they go out, they face the police, They say we don't give a shit. Shoot me, and they get shot, and they can get killed, and they rip throats out. They destroy bodies. They hurl people through windows. You know, they use all their vampiric powers to make the heist. I don't know if that's what the director was going for, but man, it sure reminded me of Innocent Blood. You know, same way. You know, and I think that's pretty cool. What if vampires? You know, think about this idea. What if vampires will use their you know their immortality and their powers to commit crimes and make lots of money? You know, hey, that's an idea. Um, like I said, I really like the fact that the film doesn't try to be nothing else than what it is. It's a cool story with some limitations, but it's nowhere. I completely disagree with Rotten Tomatoes and most of the critics. This is a very enjoyable movie. I said that the first movie is an A plus to an A. This movie, despite its limitation, is a B to a B minus. So still a good movie. Could have used some more money. Could have used a little bit more thing on the sets, a little bit more here and there, and perhaps a grander ambition. But for what it is, it doesn't deserve to be hated, man. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than give it a chance. I mean, trust me, and if you've seen it before and you like it, give it a rewatch. Because I really think that you're missing by watching with an open mind and saying, hey, you just want to have fun and want to watch a vampire flick where the vampires kick ass. There you go. Just gotta watch this. So if you like my video, please, comment if you didn't like it as well. Uh, there's one more. There's one more film. There's from Dusk Till Dawn 3, The Hangman's Daughter, and we're gonna talk about that next time. So subscribe. Peace out. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. Stay scared. like my friend Boogeyman Ben says. And I hope you keep enjoying the From Dusk Till Dawn franchise. Take it easy. Till next time.